she's going to jail. She's going to pay for what she did to my son because he didn't want to be with her. Who gives her the right? She thinks she loves him more than me? I'm his mother. That's his father. She made that decision to take my son's life. Nobody made that decision.
Page 1, Jahira Malik.
17-year-old Jahara Malik in court Tuesday, facing 1 count of manslaughter. She's accused of stabbing her ex-boyfriend, 17-year-old Yahkeim Lollar.
17 years old. A football jersey, a classroom, a future that included stockbroker dreams, and a family that called him their everything. That's who Yahkeim Lollar was. And on a December night, just 5 days before Christmas, he was stabbed to death in the parking garage of his own apartment complex by someone he trusted, someone he had let into his life. It took somebody that he trusted and loved, David Lollar, Yahkeim's father. What followed wasn't just a tragedy, it was a nightmare inside a nightmare. Because the person believed to be responsible, she walked free that same night. No arrest, no charges, just a statement to police, and then she went home. Yahkeim's family spent over a month fighting, rallying outside the state attorney's office, going on camera, demanding that someone answer for their son's death. And all they kept hearing was silence. This is the story of Yahkeim Lollar, a kid who, by every account, did everything right, who stayed out of trouble, kept his head down, and still didn't make it home. This is a story about what happens when a relationship ends and one person refuses to accept it. And this is a story about a mother who swore she would fight until her last breath because her son deserved justice, and she wasn't going to stop until she got it. To understand this case, you first need to understand who Yahkeim Lollar actually was. His family called him Kamo. He was a senior at Miami Northwestern Senior High School, a school with a proud football tradition, and Kamo was part of that tradition. He played running back. He wore that jersey with pride. But football wasn't the ceiling he had in mind. According to his family, Yahkeim had bigger dreams. He wanted to become a stockbroker. Think about that for a second. A 17-year-old kid in Liberty City, Miami, wasn't just thinking about tomorrow. He was thinking about a career, a life, a future built on ambition and discipline. His aunt, Zeldrina Beecham, herself a deputy with the Miami-Dade Police Department, described him simply. He was the type of kid who always wanted to have fun and be with his family. We taught him to stay out of the streets and keep his head on right, and he did exactly that. And still this happened. He wasn't in a gang. He wasn't involved in anything dangerous. By every account from teachers, family members, and classmates, Yahkeim Lollar was exactly the kind of young man a community celebrates. When a vigil was held for him outside his apartment complex, about 100 people showed up. 100 people standing in the cold, holding candles for a 17-year-old who had done nothing wrong. His mother, Natalie Jean, spoke to the crowd. Through tears, she asked the question no parent should ever have to ask. God took him away. I know everybody, even me, asks him why. There was no good answer. There never is. December 20th, 2024, 5 days before Christmas. It was a Friday night, and Miami's Liberty City neighborhood was quiet. Yahkeim was at home, in his apartment complex near 6101 Northwest 6th Court. According to investigators, earlier that day, his then-girlfriend, 17-year-old Jahara Malik, was getting ready to go shopping with a friend. Before she left, she was looking for her pepper spray, the kind she kept for protection. She couldn't find it, so she grabbed a knife instead. After shopping, Malik and her friend called Yahkeim. They asked to meet at his residence. He said yes, because why wouldn't he? She was his girlfriend, someone he was close to, someone he trusted. What happened next, in the parking garage of that apartment complex, would end his life. Malik would later tell police they were horseplaying, just messing around, that the stabbing was an accident, something that happened in the middle of a game. But Yahkeim Lollar was stabbed in the chest. And surveillance footage, reviewed by investigators, showed Malik dropping the knife in the parking garage after the incident. Around 11 p.m., Miami police were called to the scene. They found Malik there. She was taken to the homicide office for questioning. Yahkeim was rushed to Jackson Memorial Hospital. He didn't make it. The medical examiner would later confirm what the family already knew. This was a homicide. But hear what makes this story even more painful. That night, after questioning, Jahara Malik was released. She walked out, no arrest, no charges. They couldn't find something to charge her with the night of, when there was no question as to what happened or who done this. Yahkeim Lollar. Yahkeim's family was left to go home without their son, and they were expected to wait while the person they believed killed him slept in her own bed. That night began what would become one of the most emotional and frustrating legal fights Miami had seen in years. Let's talk about who Jahara Malik is and what the evidence and her own statements reveal. At the time of the incident, Malik was 17 years old. According to court records, she had no prior criminal history. By all external appearances, she was a regular teenager. But beneath the surface, something had been building. Yahkeim and Malik were in an on-again, off-again relationship, and in the days before December 20th, things had deteriorated. According to Yahkeim's family, he had ended the relationship. He had been honest with Malik. He didn't want to be with her anymore. His mother later stated plainly, "She took my son's life because he was honest with her that he didn't want to be with her." On the night of the stabbing, the two had been arguing over the phone before Malik came to the apartment complex. His aunt, a police deputy, recalled the question that haunted her. What could have been said over the phone that was so bad that you wanted to take his life? Malik's account, as given to police, was the horseplay defense. She and Yahkeim were just messing around when the knife somehow ended up in his chest. Her attorney, Larry Hanfield, went further, claiming the stabbing was an act of self-defense. "We believe this was not an intentional act," Hanfield said, "and I believe when all the dust is cleared, the evidence will support that." There were two key details in the arrest affidavit, though, that raised serious questions about this narrative. First, Malik deliberately brought the knife. She had gone looking for her pepper spray that day, and when she couldn't find it, she chose to take a blade instead. This wasn't an impulsive decision in the heat of the moment, it was a choice made hours earlier. Second, the surveillance footage. Cameras in the parking garage captured Malik dropping the knife after the stabbing. That's not the behavior of someone panicking over an accident. That's someone trying to distance themselves from a weapon. Who horseplays with a knife? You learn as a kid that you don't play with sharp objects. Natalie Jean. Yahkeim's mother. The defense also pointed out that Malik remained at the scene. Her attorney noted that she called 911 and attempted to provide first aid, arguing that this was evidence of her remorse and good faith. She turned herself in. She tried to render first aid, Hanfield said. But prosecutors and Yahkeim's family saw things differently. To them, the facts told a clear story, a girl who had been rejected, who came armed, who stabbed the boy who said goodbye, and who walked away. The charge filed against Malik, manslaughter with a deadly weapon, reflects the legal complexity of this case. Not murder, not an accident, something in between, and that ambiguity became the battleground for everything that followed. Here, where this case takes a turn that shocked the Miami community. Yahkeim was killed on December 20th. The medical examiner ruled his death a homicide several weeks later, and it wasn't until January 28, 2025, more than a month after the stabbing, that Jahara Malik was finally arrested. During that entire time, Yahkeim's family was not staying quiet. They organized, they rallied, they showed up outside the Miami-Dade State Attorney's office demanding accountability. They went on camera and named what they believed to be the truth. They refused to let the case fade into bureaucratic silence. Victims' rights attorney Melba Pearson, who took up the family's cause, didn't mince words. She called the delays unacceptable and accused the defense of stalling once charges were finally filed. "I've handled many cases like this," Many homicides, Pearson said. Sometimes things go slowly, but this is unacceptable. 3 days after her arrest, Malik was transferred to adult court, charged as an adult. The move reflected the seriousness of the case, even though her attorneys fought to keep it in juvenile court. What followed was a slow, painful grind, months of hearings, trial delays, continuances. At one point, a judge, visibly frustrated, told the defense that she wasn't going to keep granting delays without meaningful progress. "I just don't want to keep granting continuances and then nothing is happening," Judge Hernandez said. At a January 2026 hearing, more than a year after Yahkeim's death, dozens of his loved ones and classmates packed the courtroom just to protest the delays. The family felt that while they were drowning in grief, the defendant was, in the words of the prosecutor, outliving her best life. "I said it a year ago, and I'll say it again. I'll continue fighting until I take my last breath." Natalie Jean. And then, finally, a breakthrough. On March 16, 2026, 15 months after Yahkeim Lollar was stabbed to death in that parking garage, Jahara Malik entered a courtroom and pleaded guilty. Guilty to manslaughter with a deadly weapon. The case that the family had fought for, cried for, marched for, had finally moved forward. Sentencing was set for May 5, 2026. Malik could face up to 30 years in prison, but her attorney has signaled they may ask for something far less, alternatives like boot camp or sentencing under the Youthful Offender Statute, which could dramatically reduce her time behind bars. "She wants to take responsibility," Hanfield said. "She is devastated. She's been remorseful since day one." Yahkeim's mother, Natalie Jean, heard those words. She didn't accept them. "It's bittersweet, we're almost at the end. Now, justice is in the judge's hands. I want the maximum sentence. She killed my son for no reason, and I don't believe she's remorseful." That is where this case stands as of today. A guilty plea on the table, a sentencing date approaching, a family waiting again for a judge's decision to determine whether the punishment will match the pain. What this case leaves behind is bigger than one courtroom in Miami-Dade County. It raises questions about how quickly or slowly the system responds when a young black man is killed. It asks us to look hard at how we handle teen relationships that turn dangerous. It forces a conversation about what accountability really looks like when the person responsible is also a teenager. There are no easy answers here, but Yahkeim's family has made one thing clear: they will keep showing up. They will keep speaking his name, because the moment the world stops saying his name is the moment Yahkeim Lollar becomes just another statistic. And he was so much more than that. Yahkeim Lollar was a son, a nephew, a teammate, and a dreamer who did everything right in a world that failed him. May his name be remembered not for how he died, but for who he was, and for the mother who refused to let the world forget. Viewer engagement. Jahara Malik pleaded guilty to manslaughter, but her attorney is pushing for boot camp instead of prison. Yahkeim's mother is demanding the maximum sentence of 30 years. Do you think justice will be served on May 5th, or has the system already let this family down? Drop your thoughts in the comments below.